Today we introduce you to a comedy film, X-Days. Amanda is a young country girl who comes to live alone in New York City, where she works as a museum art restorer, surrounded by only 4 colleagues, 3 older women, and a lesbian partner. She gets very excited when she comes across an artwork that makes her like it. Such an innocent girl has 3 emotional injuries that have made her lose faith in all men. Her first boy abandoned her because he met a sexy girl, her high school boyfriend is a bisexual, and her current boyfriend is rich and handsome, but he is a playboy. After bringing a model home to make out in the apartment where they live together, Amanda immediately breaks up with her boyfriend and goes back to being single. To save money, she finds a fancy shared apartment where she has to pay only $500 a month and her 4 roommates are hot young models. Because she lived in a free house from the economy company and took out a room for rent to use as their pocket money, Amanda's life as a co-renter was very uneventful at first. It doesn't fit with the models' habits because they only think about fashion matching, they take off Amanda's clothes on the spot in order to dress differently, and they also like to gather men who pursue them together. Rely on the doorway to vet the boyfriend. To determine which one is richer, they will also come to the restaurant to eat for free. As long as the bill is held out, there will be a group of men immediately grabbed to pay the bill. Amanda found that these models are not so difficult to get along with, they are simple and passionate at heart. What's more, they don't have the bad habit of smoking and getting high. To Amanda's further surprise, she meets Prince Charming Jim, who makes her obsessed. Because he never closes the curtains, his movements are seen by Amanda, and her roommate tells her that Jim is a fashion designer, and their meeting is so awkward that a big dog pounces on her and makes a humiliating gesture. Amanda doesn't even know how to talk to Jim when she sees him, and after 2 meetings, Jim seems to have a crush on Amanda. Amanda doesn't have much confidence in him because of her previous hurt feelings. The 4 roommates know about this and immediately give Amanda a change to initiate a love offensive. They dress Amanda up as a supermodel and she mixes into a party Jim is throwing, and after an exchange, a quote from Jim hits Amanda's heart. He hates the fights in the fashion industry and the vain models who love vanity. Amanda, who is different, is the partner he desires. They set a date and kissed before they parted, like a couple in love. Faced with the impending happily ever after, she is surprised to see a murder. A woman in red is killed by Jim, coincidentally 3 roommates left. Another roommate has an operation and the only witness is Amanda, who immediately calls the police, but they don't find the body in Jim's apartment and they don't believe Amanda's words, and the affair ends there. The 4 models also suspected that Amanda was mistaken. They didn't believe that Jim could have killed anyone. 2 days later is the world of dating Jim, who seems to have a magical power to make all the girls swoon over him. In order to prove that Jim is a murderer, Amanda and her roommate start acting as temporary detectives and decide to investigate the truth of the matter. They observe Jim with binoculars and find that he does not find anything unusual except taking care of the neighbor's children, that is, buying candy for the little girl. Amanda also followed Jim to an empty park while using a live phone, thinking that Jim was going to destroy the body, but it turned out that Jim was so caring that he turned out to be a baseball coach for a group of children. Jim's almost perfect performance disarmed Amanda's mind. The next day they went on a smooth date and felt more and more comfortable with each other. They returned to the apartment and kissed passionately, and the atmosphere grew hotter and hotter. Later they confirmed their relationship and Amanda saw a news story. The police found the body of the model in red. She rushed to Jim to question. Jim has not even begun to explain. The man behind him took out a pistol. Several more men appeared around, Jim instantly with a flying knife to relieve the siege, with Amanda fled the scene. It turns out that Jim is an FBI detective, deliberately disguised as a fashion designer, responsible for investigating the Russian gang smuggling diamonds. The previous model in red was also a detective, and at the time was just cooperating with the act, and his feelings for Amanda were completely unplanned. Amanda's heartbreak rears its ugly head, and she cannot accept making out with a man of false identity. Amanda remembers that there is a client who restores famous paintings, and he is the boss of the Russian gang. It turns out that Amanda has been targeted for a long time. Jim determines that the plan has been exposed and the other side must go to kidnap the 4 models, and they arrive at the criminal gang's garment factory in time to rescue Amanda's 4 model roommates. Relying on the help of Jim's clients, they hide together in a bulletproof car. Learning that the criminal gang was heading to a fashion show, Jim immediately called the police for help, and Amanda and her roommates were forced to go over together. To avoid the criminals, Amanda had to disguise herself as a model and change into a runway outfit, and what happened next was hilarious. Amanda mistakenly entered the runway and fell to the ground in front of the audience. Jim fought with the criminal gang backstage, and the criminals disguised themselves as male models in order to kill them, and finally relied on the help of the two roommates to solve the disguised criminals. Amanda also happened to sit on the head of the criminal gang boss. Fortunately, Jim showed up in time, towards the bottom of Amanda's skirt attack, successfully knocked down the other party. The film's final very perfect. Jim in front of everyone said his real name. Amanda also overcame their suspicions, no longer entangled in each other's false lies. No more secrets of the two people finally came back together, and began a happy cohabitation life.